What is good, and welcome to the most LAFC podcast on the internet. This is Defenders of the Bank, episode 385. Wow, 385 episodes of the most LAFC podcast on the interwebs. You know my voice, it's the Scarf, J.R. Liebert, coming to you live from in front of the beautiful Scarf Wall as Denis Bouanga's 86th minute goal, 86's Atlanta, with his number 99 of his MLS career. Obviously, all in the black and gold. It took a little while at BMO, but eventually the Atlanta United defense, that block of 10, wore down. Coming to you live, like I said, from in front of the Scarf Wall, and of course, from across the interwebs and world-famous Philomonster Studios, I give you one Christian Philly Philemon.
Hello, Los Angeles. Good evening. Happy Monday. It's still Monday. Almost not Monday. Good times. These are good times. Five defenders. That's 5 wins in a row. And for the 5th time in club history, we've won 5 in a row or more. And it's funny because as an LAFC fan right now, 5 means something positive. As a Jets fan, it's kind of embarrassing, actually, because it's the first time a head coach has ever started 0-5 at the beginning of the season. Though we all do know that Jets is just simply an acronym for just end the season, whereas LAFC means a couple of things: lightning attack, fast counters, lockdown and full control, and legends and future champions with the way that we have been playing as of late. These are good freaking times, and I am enjoying this journey so much that I have to correct Scarf on a fact that he just dropped. He lied to you, defenders, just a moment ago. He lied. If he was a little wooden boy, his nose would go, good, I am a real boy. Good. And the reason, and he's beside himself. He never lies. He's a teacher for middle schoolers. How could he ever lie? We're not really at 385 episodes because we do this other thing called One More Sleep. And as per this Apple podcast stuff, we're about 490 episodes into Defenders of the Bank. So in reality, we are 10 shy from 500, but we'll claim the 385 regardless. Either way, 385, we've won 5 in a row, and I'm feeling like a 10 right now.
I love it. You still look like a 4, if that matters.
But way, you're always number 1 in my eyes.
Either way, LAFC embarking on their 2nd straight gauntlet. That's right. We talked about the 4 matches in 15 days. 4 matches in 15 days. We just ran that one. And that was a 12.4 match, 15-day gauntlet. Well, LAFC starts a harder one to end the season. 4 matches in 14 days. Luckily, the first 2 of those at home. But the gauntlet being tougher because our next match, home against Toronto, and the following match, away at Austin, will not feature Denis Bouanga, will not feature Son Heung-min, will not feature Matthew Chonier, and will not feature Nathan Ordaz. So it is going to be an uphill battle. Ruben, we feel it though. If there's any consolation there,
like 500 white gray hairs on my chin right now.
The cool part about this one though, this match, Philly, Denis Bouanga hits 100 regular season matches, and had he been a little less unselfish, would have likely hit the 100 goal mark as well.
100%. He was eyeing it, and you could even see that that just goes to show you how much he believes and trusts in his teammate. He saw Sonny in the last minutes, and he just felt compelled to pass to him. He could have easily had blasted one past Atlanta United's 21-year-old keeper. But hey, you know what? That's neither here nor there. They won anyway. And let's get into things. I know you've got some LAFC news and notes, and I've got some this day on October 6th history stuff too. So
can you clarify? If poor Rob came in thinking this is Pod 500. Can you just clarify one more time for the people that joined a little late?
All right, yeah. So Scarf said at the top of the broadcast, which was about 5 minutes and 10 seconds ago, that we were at episode 385. Now, sure, when it comes to the episodes themselves, we are, but we've never counted One More Sleeps. So that being said, if you look here on this screen, maybe it glares, maybe you can see it, maybe you don't. There you go. 4.4 stars, by the way, for salty Galaxy fans. 490 episodes is where we really are in the grand scheme of things. That's a lot of pods, man.
Hey, we're doing okay. We're doing okay. That's for sure. All right, let's get into really quick this day in LSU history. Because Philly's got some 10-6 history. Is that right? I like this. I've got a couple of matches on this day in LAFC history. Denis says he'll be there Wednesday. I don't know.
Rogaine, am I there really? Oh, man.
On 10-6-2018, our first year, LAFC officially clinches our first playoff berth. It was a win at Colorado 3-0. I remember when we used to win at Colorado. 3-0, LAFC becoming the fourth expansion side ever to make the playoffs. And of course, that our 57th point, the record that was just broken by San Diego this year. A brace from Adama Diomande and Walker Zimmerman's 15-minute goal, backing Tyler Miller's 10th clean sheet of our inaugural season. Tyler Miller now sitting second to Hugo Lloris in all of those different records. And oh, by the way, Carlos Vela, Adama Diomande, and Diego Rossi becoming the first trio to score 10 or more goals for their club in their inaugural season. And then, oh wait, we got to play Colorado Rapids again next year on 10-6-2019, as that one was the ever memorable Carlos Vela hat trick on Tim Howard, which was supposed to end Timmy's professional career. He wound up playing for Memphis 901, a team that he owns, for a little bit. But that was when Carlos Vela combined for 49 goals and assists, 34 goals, 15 assists in the single greatest season in Major League Soccer history. LAFC at the time set the points record for a season, 72, and the goal differential record for the season, 48. 48 goals on the season. They also scored 85 goals that season. Good Lord, that seems like such a big number now. And of course, they gave out a Supporters Shield commemorative patch in that one. But if you're listening to this tomorrow, which would be October 7th, do yourself a favor, pull on over for a second, go find our boy Lee Wynn on social media, and wish Lee a very happy birthday. Born October 7th, 1986. Philly, that's this day in LAFC history. But you guys said, and William, we'll get to the Tata Martino stuff in a second.
Yeah, definitely got to address that.
But Philly, you mentioned other 10-6 facts, trivia.
Yeah, I thought I would go a little bit into the Carlos Vela stuff, but it doesn't matter. It was actually three really crappy things that happened on October the 6th. And I thought we would have it with Carlos Vela rounding out to give the positives. But on this day back in 93, Michael Jordan retired for the first time from basketball. That's number one. Does the name William Sianis mean anything to any of y'all out there?
I have no idea who that is.
One William Sianis, Sianis.
I had a problem with my sinus nerve, I think, a couple of weeks ago.
You have a problem with the other thing, the other part of that, too. I'm not going to say it, family friendly. But William Sianis, in 1945, was a tavern owner in Chicago. And he, the name of his joint was the Billy Goat Tavern. And on this day, him and his pet goat, Murphy, were denied entry into Game 4 of the World Series at Wrigley Field. That's where the curse of the GOAT comes from. And he said the Chicago Cubs would never win another World Series again. Obviously, 2016, that changed. Up to that point, the Titanic sinking was more recent than the last Cubs World Series. The only reason I bring that up today is because the Cubs lost today to the Milwaukee Brewers. All hail Bob Uecker. And the last thing that sucked on October the 6th that's not sports related is we lost one Eddie Van Halen on this day in 2020. So you guys are out there, play a little bit of Panama and give a shout out to one of the greatest guitar players of all time. That's it.
Phil, you remember when we used to do random birthdays and stuff to start?
People hated it.
People absolutely went apoplectic when we did that stuff. So we wound up killing it. Look,
it was a fun segment.
one little bit of news and notes for LAFC. Denis Bouanga was named the player of the month for September 2025. No duh. A little surprised they didn't give it to Sonny, if I'm being perfectly honest. But Denis Bouanga gets it by virtue of one more goal scorer than Sonny in the month. And then just a quick wrap on LAFC 2. I say a wrap because their season is now finished. They finished 13th out of 14 in their group, and we're talking an absolute nosedive. At the end of the season, they lost their last 4, which included losing 1 on penalties, but it was a rough end of the season. They lost in PKs in St. Louis to St. Louis 2 last Sunday. And then just a couple of days ago, Sunday, October 5th, they lost 4-2 to North Texas SC, up 2-0 at the half at Rollinson Stadium, LAFC 2's first match on the campus of USC, which they're hoping will be their regular location next year, likely not playing at Titan Stadium. Losing those last 2 matches was rough. The season did not go the way that LAFC 2 had planned. But I mentioned they scored 1 goal in regulation against St. Louis and 2 goals in regulation against North Texas. All 3 of those scored by Matt Evans, who has been called up on a short-term contract for LAFC every now and again. And I'll say this, do not be surprised if you see the name Matt Evans called up for these next 2 matches. Maybe we get a short-term contract, or maybe the rosters are frozen and we can't. I don't know how that all works, but I wouldn't be surprised with Matt Evans seeing an 18 over the next couple of matches with the way our season is going. That's all I got, Philly. Look, this match against Atlanta, Philly, I'm sure you listened to the press conference. I'm sure you heard Steve Cherundolo. The question that I asked him at the start is, what the heck was this from Atlanta? Basically, was it this low block? And Steve goes, yeah, they haven't done that all season. They did it for like 20 minutes when they were down 5-0 to Columbus. So to Steve's credit, he said into the microphone that it was the players adjusting on the fly in the first half because they were not ready for this ultra low 10 defenders, almost 9 for sure back low block.
Could have fooled me with the amount of shots they still fired off. I mean, they did position themselves in a spot to succeed. And quite honestly, 1-0 isn't a really good indicator as to how much of a domination that LAFC had against Atlanta United. They had nothing coming out of them offensively. They basically just waved the white flag by going into that low block. We just weren't able to convert on some of the opportunities that we had. And it's like Denny just kept creeping closer and closer in the first half. I'm sure we're going to talk about that as far as the highlights go. But despite the low block, it didn't really matter. The boys did adjust to it, and they continued to dominate in terms of shots on target. They did control a good portion of possession. So, that's neither here nor there. Did they adjust in a way to really give us a run for our money? Absolutely not. But the fact that they were able to quickly pick up on this and find ways around it speaks volumes as to how this team has been prepared. And that right there, that performance right there, going up against an unexpected X's and O's strategy, that's coaching. Pure and simple, that's coaching.
Well, I will say, to Cherundolo's credit, he said it was the players. Obviously, at halftime, they made some adjustments and looked even better at the half. But what is it about Atlanta coming to BMO and deciding they don't want to play or even shoot the ball? In 2023, the last time Atlanta was at BMO, no saves needed for J-Mac in a 0-0 draw. And it was exactly the plan that Atlanta wanted once again. It was a Carlos Vela missed penalty, by the way, that made it a 0-0 draw in that one in 2023. But we're talking about one shot on target. And Philly, that one shot, and I don't say this very often, that one shot you and I could have easily saved in that one. Ugo, that ball right at Ugo Lloris. It was from long distance from Bartosz Slisz from like 22, 24 yards out. A very disappointing offensive effort. But then being honest, Philly, what we know coming into this, it's been a very disappointing offensive year for Atlanta United. Just 5 wins in their, 31 matches coming into this. Just 37 goals scored in 31 matches. and they are 14th out of 15 teams in the East. Not very good. Obviously, LAFC Philly coming into this match needing to keep pace as San Diego, Minnesota, and Seattle and Vancouver all winning this week. But what we do know, Philly, is with the win, and we don't mean to bury the lead here, but if you're listening to us, you probably know, LAFC winning 1-0 secures that home field advantage for the first round of the playoffs.
Yeah, you know what else that secures? Your credit cards. That's exactly what that does, because credit cards are going to be charged here in the next couple of weeks. So make sure you pay attention to the opt-in and the opt-out stuff. We'll be there. I'll take the hit. Hopefully this new job and career that I have will help pay for this relatively quickly. But we're going to be on the hook for a couple of bucks. And the way this team is playing, we're going to be on the hook for a couple of bucks for some time. Unless, of course, we have a rematch in 2022, then we know for a fact that we're not going to be hosting any MLS Cup final, because that's going to be in Philadelphia. Now, with the way they're playing, with the way we're playing, with the fact that we both have the same goal differential, I don't think it's too far-fetched of an idea that we do have a rematch of 2022 in hostile foreign territory, because make no mistake of it, Philadelphia is hostile. It is foreign, and it's not a great town. It's okay, but it's not a great town. It is not LA. And by the way, I hate the Phillies. And this comes from a 10-year now Los Angelino and, of course, a Mets fan. So screw the Phillies and everything about them. Everything about Philadelphia, other than Ben Franklin. That dude was a baller and a pimp. I liked him.
Rocky was cool, too. I've never...
but Rocky's fictional character.
That's okay. My Premier League team is AFC Richmond, so come at me.
This is such a hogwash poppycock. If anything, you're a Crystal Palace fan.
I've never been to Philadelphia, so that would be kind of fun. I don't know. I've never been.
Go see the Liberty Bell, and you're good.
Listen, I would love to have a reason to go to Philadelphia at the end of the season. We know that for sure. Look, again, it's going to be the last match at home, most likely, right? There's no way these guys stick around. It's going to be most likely be the last match at home for the four guys going on international duty in the regular season. Denis, Sonny, Ordaz, and Chonier. These guys all play matches on Friday, October 10th and Tuesday, October 14th. So likely out the next two matches for sure. But you know what? They definitely tried to get Denis to 99 and to 100. Let's get through the lineups real quick, Philly, and then we can break down this match. There's not a lot to talk about this match, guys, but we're going to do it. 5-3-2 is what MLS Soccer says that Atlanta played. It looked an awful lot more like a 5-4-1 at times, and we are talking about a defensively structured 5-4-1. And I want to give props to goalkeeper Jaden Hibbert. Not a player that we talked about on One More Sleep, because we thought the old man would be between the pipes, 41-year-old Brad Guzan. And all due respect to Jaden Hibbert. Hibbert looked great in this one, had a couple of big saves, was where he needed to be. And if there is a match that is going to slightly nudge the torch in one direction from the 41-year-old Brad Guzan to the younger Jaden Hibbert, it might be this one. He looked very, very good, and to me was the only thing special about anything in an Atlanta United kit, and that includes some very, very expensive and talented players in Atlanta. Their back line of five: Ronald Hernandez, Stian Gregerson, Juan Berrocal, Enea Mihaj, and Pedro Amador. Alexei Miranchuk, Bartosz Schlisch, and Steven Alzate in the midfield. And up top, Jamal Tiare, who I talked about a little bit on One More Sleep, in the fact that he's got, 5 or 6 goals in less than 700 minutes of time, I believe. And then, of course, the prodigal son returning home to Atlanta from Newcastle, Miguel Almiron. Unfortunately for Miguel, it has not been the season that he would have liked it to have been. I believe something like 5 goals and 4 assists on the year, and 3 of those 5 goals coming by way of the penalty spot. In the 18, the players that we would see were Tristan Mayomba, the $22 million man playing just barely more than 22 minutes in this one, Emmanuel Latelat, Soba Lobjanidze, Cayman Togashi, and the former Inter Miami player, Leo Afonso for Atlanta. Philly, LAFC coming back out in that It's a 5-3-2, right? They need to stop saying 4-3-3. It's a 5-3-2.
I don't know. MLS said it was a 3-5-2. I mean, look, you go to FOTMOB, it says it's a 4-3-3. LAFC's hybrid. We know that. But before I get into the LAFC formation, I do want to give a shout out to Brad Guzan, because how many more opportunities are we going to get to see Runkle in the flesh? Runkle, the character from Californication. Humor me, if you will. Brad Guzan, we salute you. And for those wondering what the hell am I talking about, if you go back to the YouTubes right around the 21st minute, you will see our visual of Brad Guzan wearing the number 33 and putting on bag gloves. Not boxing gloves. Those are bag gloves. They're a little thinner. Sorry, I had to. All right. Hugo Lloris, the greatest goalkeeper that LAFC has had all time, starting in between the sticks. And I don't mean that from a biased perspective. I literally mean that from a statistical perspective. And it feels like he just came yesterday, Scar. Felt like we were just at his press conference when he came back, along with Edward not came back, but when he came through, and back came Edward Atuesta. And just like that, he eclipses Tyler Miller, which goes to show you that Tyler Miller's records, maybe not at all that impressive as we once thought. No disrespect to the man, though, that really shouldn't have been a starter in our inaugural season. That would have been Buba Lopez. All right, Sergio Palencia, Ryan Porteous, who's quickly becoming a fan favorite with his ability to muscle things down as a center back, fantastic player. And Nkosi Tafari, Scarf's favorite player of the 2025 campaign. And Ryan Hollingshead. We'd have Matthew Choinière, which if you want to get to learn a little bit more about him, I did an interview with him on Soccer in 60. Check that out on the Empire Strikers YouTube page or Soccer in 60 on the podcast. Great conversation with a two-time MLS All-Star during his days with Montreal. Eddie Segura, Marky Delgado, who very quietly has become one of the most important acquisitions of the season, obviously next to Sonny. Timothy Tillman, Sonny the man himself, and Denis Bouanga, our number 99, who punched in his 99th. The players that would come off the Pine Pony would be as follows: Artem Smolyakov, Andy Morin, Jeremy Abobasi, who is at the Angel City game right now. Why do I know? Because I stalked his Instagram. It just popped up. And Frankie Amaya. That is your starters for LAFC and your players coming in off of the bench.
And you mentioned it at the top, Philly. In this first half was pretty much all trying to get Denis Bouanga to that's Fluffhead. That's funny.
That's
trying to get
damn funny.
Denis Bouanga to 99 and to 100 as quickly as they could. Denny pushed his shot just wide in the 6th minute and then misses just wide off a set piece in the 13th minute. You could really tell, Philly, that the focal point early on was to get Denis going. And look, kudos to LAFC because they found a way to do it without being too deliberate, too methodical. He's really done it within the course of the offense, as opposed to when we had, I don't know, let's say Olivier Giroud, where we changed everything we were doing just to try to get him the ball.
Olivier who? Look, it's make no mistake of it. It's not only the reason why LAFC is really running the offense through Denny. He's in that golden boot race, tied with Messi. And look, he was voted the player of the month for a reason. I mean, 8 goals, 9 goal contributions. I mean, he had a phenomenal month, and he's scoring. He is red hot. He's going on one of the best scoring streaks of his entire career, going back to his time starting off his club career in France. Why would you not give this man the ball with the way that he's been clinical? And that first shot that you were talking about in the 6th minute, Matthew Choinière really set him up beautifully. He coming out of the midfield, he's proven to be a very dynamic link connecting with our forwards up top.
Yeah, no, look, Choinière, God, I feel bad saying this, but I've now said it several different podcasts in a row.
I called him Chonies when he first got on here. You want to talk about feeling bad? I felt bad.
Well, you should. That was terrible. Look, Igor goes down, and we're thinking, oh, man, this kid has been a rock for us in the midfield. And Igor was very, very good for us this season. And I feel terrible saying this. He's a young kid. He's got plenty of room to grow. He was very, very good when we needed him to be. But offensively, we were a little stunted with the midfield that we had. All due respect to the way we were using Timothy Tillman. All due respect to the way that Mark Delgado plays. And all due respect to the way that Igor Jesus, who's much more of maybe a holding or even a defensive at time midfielder, we got Matthew Choinière and Andy Morin, and we started to use Timothy Tillman differently. And what you have seen is this offense kind of unlocking. Sure, it helps to have number 7. I'm not talking about Latif Blessing. Sonny. It helps to have Sonny up top because, oh my goodness, everything gets better when you put a player that's world class like Sonny there. But you also got to get him the ball. It can't just be the two of them up top playing back and forth with each other. And what we have seen, Philly, and you mentioned it perfectly with Chonier in the 6th minute, it's been a different midfield since we've brought in those two players and used Timothy Tillman differently.
I mean, so many additions, and that goes to Ryan Porteous as well. I mean, there's been so much stability despite the players that we have lost. And losing Aaron Long was a problem. But then once we adjusted, once Nkosi Tafari started feeling more comfortable, and once Ryan Porteous started getting minutes, we kind of forgot about our captain. And I don't mean that in a bad way. He'll obviously be back. But that just goes to show you how important the transfer window is. Picking up Andy Moore, and look, none of us really had that much of an idea as to what to expect from the youngster. But he's proven to be a big thing. And Matthew Chouanier coming in from Grasshoppers, which makes sense to the red and gold connection now, and obviously his ties to MLS. These are all really big acquisitions, and now they seem even more important because you're right. You couldn't have just had Denny and Sonny up top doing everything if you didn't have these dynamic midfielders that had the ability to pass the ball the way they would. Look at how Andy Moore ended up passing one to Denny a couple of games ago. Like, the midfield is far better now than it ever has been. And now that we don't have to really utilize Timothy Tillman on offense as much to score, that just makes the midfield look that much better because Timothy Tillman can connect on passes. There are times where he makes some really good defensive plays, but one thing that we could all agree on is the fact that he's not a danger anywhere near or outside of the 18.
No, you're absolutely right. And look, Steady Eddie making me worry just a little bit there. 18th minute with that very, very early yellow card, a foul on the break. And I mean, it just looked like Eddie was going to put himself into a little bit of trouble. And then Philly, honestly, yes.
No, I'm just reading Fluffhead's comment. It's pretty darn funny.
Other than that, I mean, Sonny and Denis combining for a couple of good attempts in the 21st, and then the nice set piece by Sonny in the 37th, where I think it was Tafari that headed it wide. Unfortunately, LAFC taking a little bit to get going, and in that first half, that low block, those 9 men back at the very least for Atlanta, leads us to a very boring nothing first half where LAFC didn't play poorly. They just had yet to figure out the low block.
Well, yes, but they still found a couple of decent looks. The two, Denny could have easily scored in that 6th minute. Denny could have easily had gotten one in on the 13th minute. I mean, look, there were opportunities. There wasn't much offense created. You're right. We had an XG that was under 1, but not an overwhelmingly disappointing first half, just more surprising that we weren't up by quite a bit more because Atlanta United, they were anemic when it came towards their offense. Just one shot in 45 minutes with it not even being on target. It's just another example as to why they may actually have the worst team in Atlanta United's history. The least amount of games they have won since they took the league by storm back in 2018, 2019 was 6. They're in danger of this being the worst season ever. And we got to see it firsthand why that's the case.
And I hate to say it, but that's a talented team with
on paper, sure.
Yeah, Emmanuel Latelat, Miguel Almiron, Alexei Miranchuk, and some of these other guys that they have there. I'm looking at Ronnie Delia going, you were once a U.S. men's national team head coaching candidate. Now, I don't know. I think it's been an unfortunate year. We get into the second half, and Philly, it was the 58th minute is when Bartosz Slisz had that shot on target for Atlanta. Technically, the only shot on target. We'll talk about the other moment that got everybody a little worried for sure. But let's talk about the 64th minute. And Philly, I love Ryan Hollingshead. You know that. I absolutely love Ryan Hollingshead.
You tell him that frequently. I think you're starting to make him feel uncomfortable, Scarf.
No, it's okay. The paperwork hasn't gone through yet. But Ryan has now missed sitters in the last 2 matches. You can just tell by his reaction on that 64th minute header. And unfortunately for Ryan, I don't know if he knew he was coming out right after he missed this header or not either, but Sonny puts it right where he needed to put it. And the ball was literally a full ball off of the goalpost. That's about it. 12 inches, if that, just wide of that near post. Ryan Hollingshead should have had 2 goals in the last 2 matches. Sonny should have had an assist. But unfortunately for Ryan, like I said, he comes off for Artem Smolyakov and Andy Morin coming on for Matthew Chonier.
I mean, it feels like once he started surpassing Graham Zusi in terms of the records that he would have as a defender, he kind of cooled off on his goal scoring prowess. I know he surpassed him in one category. I think it was all competitions. Maybe it's the regular season one. I think there's still like one thing that Graham Zusi hasn't beat in.
Yeah.
I can't recall what that is off the top of my head, and I'm not going to go to Chat GPT at this hour because I've been proven wrong on this pod by utilizing it late. But yeah, Ryan Hollingshead misses one, and Atlanta United had a couple opportunities. They certainly strung along far more passes than they did within the first half. And dude, it came really stinking close within that 70th minute because by the time I was saying to myself, "Oh, they're stringing along quite a few passes," had it not been for our good friend PW Post, that would have been a nasty deflection coming off of Tafari that would have caught Hugo Lloris flat-footed and unable to make any save just based on where I think it was a Slish's shot. Was that who's the player?
Yeah.
Took? I forget. Yeah. But yeah, that was a close call, man. We certainly avoided a calamitous moment.
What is with Nkosi Tafari? I mean, the last 10 matches or so, look, at least the tide has shifted, right? He's not snake bit anymore, but he was part of or responsible for like 3 or 4 or 5 goals in a row that LAFC had given up. And now last match, right, a ball goes in off of Tafari, but it's called back for offside. This match, a ball off Tafari goes off the post. I mean, I feel badly for him because I'll say this, and Philly, we've now said this a couple of times. I was really unhappy with the way Nkosi Tafari was playing for much of this season. He has absolutely turned it around with some incredible performances over these last several matches. And I just felt bad. I was like, oh God, dude's like snake bit with these near goals and goals. It must be nice to have paid $22 million for a player and only feel like you need to play him the final 18 minutes and stoppage time of a match where you're playing the best offensive team in the league over the last month or so with Emmanuel Latte-Lat and Tristan Moyumba coming on for Alexei Miranchuk, one of the players who went off. Latte-Lat has been a disappointment. 8 goals, 3 assists across all competitions. And again, we talked about this at One More Sleep. The reason why my 2 players to watch were Sonny and Latte-Lat. Latte-Lat was a $22 million expenditure from Atlanta United. That broke the MLS transfer record before Sonny's 26.2 or 26.4, whatever the number was. And he's just been nothing but a disappointment. Sonny has almost eclipsed his production already.
Well, Sonny, in basically the blink of an eye, became LAFC's second leading scorer, if that says anything. I mean, literally the blink of an eye. He's barely here enough to enjoy a couple of nights out, and his statistics just continue to pile on. But we finally break through, Scarf. We finally break through, and no surprise, it is our number 99 getting 99 in the 86th minute, because at some point, we were in danger of dropping points at home, not losing the game, but dropping points. It would have sucked to have tied this Atlanta United team. And it's weird because historically, other than the 5-0 drubbing that we got against them in 2018, every single game has been ridiculously close. We have never beaten Atlanta United by more than 1 goal. Actually, every game since the 2018 massacre was within 1. So thankfully, we broke through and history found its way of repeating itself. The best assist of the game belonged not to anybody on LAFC, but it's funny how my autocorrect changed the Albanian defender's name to Minaj. We know it wasn't Minaj. It was Mihaj. He had the pass that came in from Marky Delgado, and Denis Bouanga basically had all the time in the world. He blasts one through 1-0. But it could have been more. It really could have been more. We almost had our Billy Mays Hayes, whatever the hell his name was, rest in peace. But wait, there's more moment. And then he could have had 100. He was so close he could have had 100. You're right. He was just too unselfish. Too unselfish. I don't blame him. But he should have been selfish.
My favorite thing was Sonny after the game, right? LAFC had him on the video saying, hey, Denis got to shoot that one. I know he wants to look out for me, but Denis got to shoot. I know more than what Sonny is saying isn't just Denis should try and score. But I know what everybody wanted, right? Everybody wanted 100 at BMO Stadium to come in front of the black and gold faithful, the 3252, the 22,000 in that stadium. But, Denis, a little unselfish. Should have been 2-0 there in the 90th minute. The only other moment of anything in the match was Bartosz Slisz, 99. It's not Slisz is 99. Yeah.
Slisz is 99, yes.
Slisz is 99. Bouanga racing forward, stoppage time, 3rd minute, and Slisz pulling on the jersey, tugging on the jersey. And by the way, watch Denis. I could be wrong, but if you go back and watch this moment, Denis looked like he had like a fist up ready to turn and swing at Slisz for a second. After that, he was definitely super pissed. And it was a perfect middle of the park textbook yellow card foul. Slisz knew what he was doing. It's a tactical play. There was nothing dirty about it. It just took Slisz kind of going for a ride for about 10 minutes or so. And I want to say this just in case, because I don't know what the broadcast showed, but I was there watching it. As soon as the match ended, Philly, Slisz went right up to Denis, pulled him in and said, my bad. Hopefully we're good. You understand that's just a foul. And Denis had no problem. Tapped him on the back of the head, said, yeah, we're good.
It's a good thing he didn't Slisz him the jab. You know what I'm saying? Look, it was a play that you would have done. Any one of us would have done that if we were in Slish's position. No harm, no foul. And if Denis would have even made any kind of contact, that would have been the worst thing that could have possibly have happened. Yeah. But the worst thing that I would say that possibly happened is the fact that we will not see him score 100 in front of all of us during the regular season. That 100th could come on the road. That 100th could, yes, come at home during the playoffs. The sooner the better. I would venture to guess that Denis has a brace in his future playing for Gabon. Gabon oh so close to potentially, topping their table and moving a few more steps forward to World Cup qualification. You know that Denis wants to have that. If you went back to listen to the broadcast, right around the 20th minute, Taylor Twellman made the joke. I think it was, I forget who he was calling the game with. Maybe John Strong. I forget. But either way, he made the comment that, knowing Denis, he would probably just hop on a flight in between each of Gabon's games, take the 15-hour flight, whatever, play, score a goal, get back on the plane and go compete for Gabon. Yeah, because that's the kind of player he is. And that's the kind of player we want. Somebody that has the passion, somebody that is clinical, and somebody that literally gives it his all for our team. That's the kind of player I rally behind. You rally behind. The kind of player that, we would run through a brick wall for. Denis, icon, and we will see that 100th goal, preferably at home and preferably in the playoffs at this point in a situation where we get out of the first round convincingly.
And look, here's what I do want to say. What we know about Denis, obviously, right, is he got off a plane the last time and scored with in the 80-some-odd minute when he went on these international breaks. But Gabon has never qualified for the World Cup, and they are 1 point behind Ivory Coast right now in their journey to qualify. Last 2 matches, when we lost Denis, he scored a hat trick in one of them, and Gabon didn't score because he didn't score in the other match. So this is so incredibly important for Gabon, having never qualified for a World Cup. They need, and I know Denis left, I believe, right after the match to get on a plane and to go. We absolutely need Denis to be focused on his time with Gabon so that when the World Cup comes in 2026, we get to see Gabon in that World Cup. It means so much to me as an LAFC supporter to be able to say, not just, oh, hey, that guy's a fringe player like the three guys on Colombia, right? When we had Chiqui Palacios and Mendez and Cifuentes, when all three of them were on the roster for Colombia but not playing, right? It was great to say, oh, well, hey, we have Gareth Bale, but everybody already knew Gareth Bale when he scored against the United States in that goal, right? But to have a player who very well just might announce their presence with authority on the World Cup stage if Gabon can get in. And everybody will go, who the hell is this Denis Bouanga guy? And where does he play for? The world will know his name if they are able to qualify, and he'll be playing for LAFC when he does it.
100%. Soccer USA in the chat states, can one of our billionaire owners hook Denis up with a private jet? No. Until he gets to 100, it's Ryanair internationally and Southwest domestically. No private jets for Denis until he hits 100. I think that's fair.
I think you're right. Why not? Oh, Bennett, we know you're listening. Bennett,
we definitely know you're listening.
Talk to one of your buddies. Let's get him back.
What do you mean? He could just lend him his plane.
Oh, so much fun. Look, Philly 1-0. Not every game can be 4-1, right? LAFC.
No, we were way Samsonite. We were way off.
Hey, because Atlanta did their job, right? They pulled the old bait and switch, played a totally different defensive tactic. Can't be upset about the job. I know I just ripped on Ronnie Delia being a terrible coach, but he at least zigged when everybody thought he was going to zag for Atlanta. So props to them. But you know what, Philly? 3 points is still 3 points.
3 points is 3 points. Benny guy in the chat says it's LAFC Football Club. Why we call the game soccer when our club is FC? Just a thought. Very valid thought. For those who don't know, look, soccer's not our word. It's not an American made-up term. It's literally British. When the game was first created, it was association football, a soch, a sock, soccer. That's literally a bastardization of the word association, which was created by the British. We just use it very frequently in the United States just to differentiate it between that and American football. It is annoying, but I still find it funny how everybody blames the Americans for the utilization of the word soccer, when in reality, that ish, along with the sport itself, comes from England. Just wanted to address that.
What I love is I'm the language teacher for a living, and Philly's the one dropping the language knowledge on here.
I could start shooting some Latin too. Padre nostre, qui es in celi, sanctificator nomen tuum. Crap, I think
and he's using ecclesiastical Latin rather than classical.
I have no idea how to even spell that. Two things I want to address, and then I want to go to bed. I've had a long day. Number one, Scarf, with the way that Atlanta United played us, you may say that Ronnie Delia a bad coach, but maybe, quite maybe, he is onto something. And I think the game on Wednesday against Toronto is going to be very important, because if Toronto came back and watched some of the video, they may think that, hey, this low block thing could work on LAFC because they don't even have their forwards to do anything. So maybe they will have to see some other players come in and break through. I would love to see Belutza in more than just a UCLA Bruins jersey doing, the LAFC bit. But I don't know. I hope that we haven't given the rest of the league something to focus on, because, yeah, we did have a tough time with that low block. And against a much better team, that might prove to be problematic.
Yeah, you said you had two things.
So yeah, that, and I mean, there was a question in the chat that was addressed earlier on. Why don't we just talk about it just to kind of get it out in the open? The rumor about Tata Martino.
Yeah. So bottom line is it's not a thing yet, according to Tom Bogert, right? So there have been rumors saying that they have already focused on and landed on and agreed with Tata Martino. Tom Bogert coming out and saying, no, not the case. He might be one of many that we are talking to, but nothing has been decided. Look, I don't know how anybody feels about Tata Martino. I don't want Tata Martino, but that's just me. I don't know. Philly, your thoughts?
Well, yes, it is a rumor, and the journalist from Argentina that leaked it, I'm always wary. And we're not the podcast or the Twitter account. I know there's LAFC social media handles on Twitter that basically get their rocks off by doing breaking news. I don't like that because it's a quest that's never ending. You might be right for some time, and then the minute you're wrong, you lose all kinds of credibility. And obviously, you check your sources, you figure out where things come from. But in this day and age, it's all about engagement. Something like that is engaging. There is no paperwork that's been signed because the one person that does break the news and has been consistent with it, makes his living off being consistent here in this tiny little world we call Major League Soccer is Tom Bogert. In reality, for the breaking news, him domestically, Fabrizio Romano internationally. Those are your trusted sources. Unless it comes from like a Fox, an ESPN, there's a BBC, something like that. I don't hang on to those. I don't think of it as being a big thing. I know Tata Martino would be a very polarizing figure to be at the helm of LAFC, mainly because of the failures that he had with El Tri. We go back to as recently as 2022 when Mexico couldn't even break out of the group stages. A terrible performance during that time period. And look, I don't blame anybody with how they feel about Tata on the international level. But domestically, in particular, in Major League Soccer, he did quite good. And I know there's a recency bias with why he couldn't do anything with Inter Miami, but they did win a couple of trophies. And then look what he did with Atlanta United with unproven players like Joseph Martinez and Miguel Almiron. I'm not going to say I'm pro or against. I'm just going to sit and say the same damn thing I said when Steve got hired. I am going to be cautious, not cautiously optimistic, not optimistic, just cautious. I won't be surprised, and neither should any of you, if there is a promotion that comes through to possibly an Ante Razov or a Mark Dos Santos. People who know the system, know John Thorrington, have literally been there from the beginning and are going to run the type of X's and O's that we have come to enjoy at LAFC. I know there's the talk between Bradley Ball and Dolo Ball, but ultimately it's been about scoring goals. We just didn't have the personnel until recently in this year of Dolo's tenure to really find the back of the net. Now we do. Maybe an entire season with this again, we run the gamut and really challenge for Supporters Shield. Who knows? But either way, Tata Martino would be very polarizing, but it's just that, a rumor. There are no facts based on that at all.
Yeah, want to run through the table real quick. And then what I'm planning to do, at least after the Toronto match, is to talk about what LAFC needs to do in order to qualify for CONCACAF Champions Cup. But let's talk about the table real quick. LAFC obviously sitting fourth. And LAFC has 3 matches to play. So if you win those 3, you win out, you get to 65 points. And that number is pretty important because Minnesota is now on 58 points with just 1 match to play. That's 61 points if they win out. So 65, obviously more than 61. The nice part is, so is 62, even if we don't win all of these. The problem comes with Vancouver. Vancouver is on 60 points with 2 matches to play, which means they win out. They get to 66. And you better believe that they are trying to get to 66. But I'll say this. They might only be trying to get to 64, maybe to get ahead of San Diego. Because San Diego is on 60 points, 1 match to play. That only gets them to 63. So really, if LAFC wins out and everybody else wins out, then you're talking about 66 for Vancouver, 65 for LAFC. Now, it is not true that because Vancouver has already qualified for Champions Cup because they won the Canadian Championship, that second spot automatically goes to LAFC. Okay, there are some other permutations that actually have to happen, and I'll break all those down next podcast. But the bottom line is, if we don't,
won't. That's one more sleep. Don't lie. There he is again. He's lying to you, defenders.
You know what I mean. The next regular episode 386. That being said,
491.
Philly, it doesn't matter unless we put 3 points on the board against Toronto, and that'll be Wednesday. That'll be at BMO, and it'll be our final home match of the season.
And that'll be a challenging one considering the personnel that we don't have, but then that gives other people the opportunity to shine. It's clearly next man up. I agree with David Day in the chat. CONCACAF Champions Cup qualification more important than seeding. I agree. We've locked in the home field advantage. We're all going to get charged quite a bit of money on our credit cards within the next couple of weeks. That's locked in. I don't care where we stand in the seeding. The only thing that I care about is that within the playoff structure as it is, we get an opportunity at San Diego again, and we get to crush them the same way that we crushed Austin in the Western Conference Finals in 2022 en route to upsetting Philadelphia and their hopes and their dreams and poor Jim Curtin during that run. That's what I want. That's on my wish list. I don't care about anything else. I want to beat San Diego in the postseason and shut them up.
I love it. That's all I got, Philly. What do you say?
Too. I'm tired.
All right. Well, look, we'll be back tomorrow with one more sleep because we have a match on Wednesday at BMO Stadium. Toronto heads to town. Love you guys all so much. And again, however you access Defenders of the Bank content, thank you. We are nothing without all of you. And with that, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Where's the button? Here's the button.
Me.